Hey guys, Adam Manley here from Good Life Property Management, here today to talk to you guys about SB 91, the recent piece of legislation that passed here in California that addresses COVID-19 relief for landlords and tenants. There is quite a bit to go over in this bill, so we're going to jump right into it. But before we do, I wanted to make a quick legal disclaimer here. We at Good Life are not attorneys. This is not meant to be legal advice. This information was given to us by our attorneys, and we strongly recommend that you speak with an attorney about your specific property or situation with regards to some of the stuff in SB 91. So we're gonna get right into it and stay tuned. All right guys, so as I mentioned, we got a lot to cover in today's video. I'm gonna break down some of the different aspects of SB 91 and what we're gonna be covering today. So first thing we're gonna go over is what actually is SB 91. Second thing we're going to be looking at is how does SB 91 actually modify the bill it was meant to build on, which is AB 3088. We're then going to look at the rental assistance program portion of the bill. There's a lot to go over there as well. We're also going to look at some of the new tenant protections that SB 91 has granted. We're going to look at also how the CDC eviction moratorium and SB 91 coincide and how they differ. And then we're also going to look at last but not least, how SB 91 actually helps landlords. So like I said, quite a bit to go over. We're going to jump right into the first part of our video, which is what is SB 91? All right, guys, so what is SB 91? So SB 91 is a bill that was recently put into law here in California in late January of 2021. And SB 91 was really meant to build on a lot of the legislation that was already in AB 3088. It extends some additional tenant protections. It also extends the current eviction moratorium here in California to now June 30th of 2021. And it also requires an additional disclosure be sent to tenants that have been affected financially by COVID-19. So a lot of different parts of the bill. That's a little bit kind of the background of it, and we're going to dive into some of the more details of the different aspects of the bill, what's new and what isn't. But now we're going to be looking at how SB 91 modifies AB 3088. So the first thing I want to talk about is the extension of what was previously known as the transition time period. We have more information about exactly what this is in our AB 3088 video, so look at that for more detailed information on exactly when the transition time period was. But part of SB 91 is that it actually is now going to extend that transition time period out to June 30th of 2021, which kind of coincides with the eviction moratorium date as well. The second thing it also builds on is that tenants who still continue to pay 25% of their rent are still protected under SB 91, and they still have that option to pay 25% of the rent each month or make that lump payment on June 30th. So if your tenant has, if you've come to an agreement with your tenant about the 25% each month, or if they have mentioned that they're going to pay it in one lump sum, they're still technically protected under SB 91. One of the other things it modifies is that landlords are still able to request income verification for high income tenants. So that's something that actually hasn't changed in SB 91. Another way SB 91 modifies AB 3088 is with the new disclosure notice that is required for landlords to send to tenants. So this new disclosure form is required for any tenants who have missed rent payments during the original protected time period. You need to send this notice to your tenants no later than the end of the month by February 28th of 2021. Another modification SB 91 has made is that there is also a new pay or quit notice that is to be used for tenants who owe rent during the transition time period. So if you plan on serving your tenant a pay, rent, or quit notice for rent owed during that transition time period, there is now a new notice that SB 91 has created that you must use. And the last thing that SB 91 modifies from AB 3088 is it has now pushed small claims court filings back to August 1st of 2021. So they're continuing to push those dates back as well. So those are some of the main modifications of SB 91. As the next section we're going to be talking about is the rental assistance program. And the rental assistance program is arguably the most important part of SB 91. So this new program here in California has received $1.5 billion in federal funds that are going to be allocated to landlords and tenants who have been impacted by COVID-19. Now, of that $1.5 billion, a small portion, $150 million, has been specifically designated to smaller communities with less than 200,000 residents who may have been more impacted by the effects of COVID-19. Now, the funds are going to be distributed in 3 rounds. The first round of fund distribution is going to go to households who have an income that is below 50% of the median area income. So that's going to be the first round of fund distribution. The second round of fund distribution will be going to communities who have been specifically and negatively impacted more disproportionately than other communities in that area. And we're still waiting for some additional guidelines on what that exactly will look like, how we will be able to tell which communities were more negatively affected than others. But so far, that is the plan for the second round of fund distribution. The last round, the third round of fund distribution, will be going to those households whose income is below 80% of the median area income. So that is how the fund distribution is going to work for the rental assistance program. Next, we're going to be talking about some of the tenant eligibility requirements for SB 91 to receive some of the rental assistance. So the first requirement is that at least one household member must qualify for unemployment benefits or must have suffered significant income loss as a result of COVID-19. Additionally, one household member must also demonstrate a high risk of homelessness. And how someone would do that would be things like past due utility bills, or maybe a copy of an eviction notice from your landlord, or even an ability to demonstrate unsafe living conditions inside of the property. The last eligibility requirement to receive some of these funds as a tenant is that your household income, as I mentioned previously, needs to be below 80% of the area median income. All right, guys, so next we're going to be talking about some of the new tenant protections that have been allotted to tenants through SB 91. So the first is for tenants who have returned a declaration to their landlords stating that they've been affected by COVID-19, no late fees can be imposed on those tenants for rent that would have been collected from March 1st of 2020 through June 30th of this year. So that's the first protection that tenants have now. The second is that no new fees can be imposed on tenants for services that a landlord previously provided. So if, for example, you gave your tenant free internet each month, you cannot charge them a new fee for that. And also, you cannot increase a fee for a previously provided service. So if you charge your tenant $20 a month for the internet previously, you can't charge them now $40 a month. So that's another protection that tenants have under SB 91. The next protection is that security deposits cannot be used for unpaid rent. So that's a pretty big change that SB 91 has imposed as well. There are also some additional protections from applicants that SB 91 has created. So if a tenant is applying for a property and they have experienced COVID-19 financial hardship, that cannot be used as a qualifying factor in whether or not you approve that applicant. So that's another really big change to make a note of when you're screening prospective applicants for your property. So the last protection for tenants under SB 91 is regarding rental debt protection. So if your tenant has that signed declaration stating they've been affected by COVID-19 and they are below 80% of the area median income, a landlord can no longer assign or sell any of that debt that the tenant owes. They are prohibited from doing that. If their tenants are above 80% of the area median income, a landlord can still assign or sell that debt to a collections company, but that does not begin until July 1st of 2021. So those are some of the new rental protections that are allotted to tenants and applicants under SB 91. So there was also the CDC moratorium that you guys probably remember from a few months back, and we just wanted to update you guys on how the CDC moratorium ties in with SB 91. So really the only thing to make note of here is that the CDC eviction moratorium, which is the nationwide eviction moratorium, has been extended now to March 31st of 2021. So a change to note there. All right, guys, so now you're probably wondering, how does SB 91 actually help landlords? So very different from AB 3088, SB 91 actually has a provision for landlords in it to recover some additional assistance if they have been impacted by COVID-19. So if landlords are willing to forgive 20% of the debt owed to them by their tenants, the state of California will potentially reimburse the landlord up to 80% of that back-owed rent by the tenants. If the landlords are not willing to forgive that 20% of rent owed to them by their tenants, then the maximum that they would be able to recover from the state is 25% of the total collective amount of rent owed from their tenants. So there's definitely going to be some more assistance made to landlords. We're going to keep you guys posted as we have more information about that. We're also going to have a big FAQ section under the video here where you can learn a little bit more about SB 91 and some of the intricacies of this bill. So if you guys have any other questions or concerns, you're always welcome to email us or drop us a line. We're here to help you guys anytime. Thanks for watching.